This is not a set review. It really isn't. I just happened to luck into at I guess a warehouse store. What do you call it? An outlet. Not even an outlet. It was basically one of those people who buy Costco skids that don't get sold. And I picked this thing up at a place in Brantford. I think it's called TK's. Yeah, TK's wholesale, the wholesalers, TK's outlet, whatever. And they had a bunch of Lego sets there one time. And they had this thing for basically half price for what you could actually buy it at Costco that week. So I bought it. I didn't put any stickers on. This is a Ferrari. I'm looking for a set number in the actual instructions. Look how big this book is. And I bought it for Josh to build. And he started building it, and then he got a little frustrated because he's not, used to building 1,000-piece sets plus 1,000+ piece sets. So I finished building it for him. And I'm gonna say, I'm appreciative of the effort that the new, quote unquote, new Technic builders, master builders build, because this is a pretty little set. It really is pretty. It's like super pretty, and of course the thousands of pieces are mostly friction pegs and little tiny pieces, and body panels, blah blah blah. When I was heavy into Technic sets, pre-RCX, I had all the originals. I didn't buy them all new, but I got a lot of them. Not the first year, 1977. I only got the blue go-kart 854, and then after that I got the, I want to say 8480 helicopter. The helicopter with a thin one stud wide blade and the fold up retractable landing gear. That's the era where they had those little well, I can show you if I have some readily available. Those bushings that had all those little teeth on them. And I'm not gonna bother pulling them down. Those didn't last too long. Then they just came out with the angle brackets because the teeth bushings would break a lot. But yeah, and I got a lot of Technic sets through that era. And I kept on buying, quote unquote, the supercars. So the original 853, I got after a while. It's not the first that I got. As I said, I got the 854, but then I got the black and gray supercar that had the suspension in the back and the straight 4-cylinder, or the V4 in the back. And then I got the red and black and gray supercar with the pop-up headlights and the all 4-wheel suspension. And then I got the 880, and then I got the 8448. And when those were coming out, we were heavy into the RCX and having a good time with that. And going along, so I was buying Technic sets sporadically. But after the 8448, and of course I did acquire the space shuttle, as we've seen, and now I've acquired 2 more. That my Technic purchasing went way down after that. Buying new sets. I got from the shop at home. I got the service pack for the pneumatics, so I bought 3 or 4 of those. So I got tons of switches and cylinders and tanks and hoses. And then I bought a few pneumatic Technic sets because pneumatics are just cool, straight up, just cool. But I think my last true and we all got the big yellow crane, the one that came out during the height of Lugnet. That my friend Chris took a 1x1 brick and traded back and forth and back and forth. He's like those people who take a paperclip and end up getting a house after a whole bunch of swaps. He got the crane basically for free, for a 1x1 brick. So that's a bit of a story. But I think the crane was the last big purchase that I got for Technic sets. The big yellow crane. And I loved it, don't get me wrong. But it's a part and it's sorted into the collection now. So Technic sets, besides the original 7 that I have in a box for display, I don't have too many, and the space shuttles, obviously. It's right over there. I'm not going to show you. So I love Technic. I love looking at what they're coming out with. The Unimog is one of the most coveted sets and blah, blah, blah. I like the space shuttle back in my era. And I was keen on buying it when it was released because we were still doing RTL stuff and LugNet stuff. But I didn't get it. I was kind of focused on RCX and probably getting it back in the classic space. So I did not get the Unimog at all, which is fine. And then I have, and occasionally when I buy a lot, they'll obviously come with Technic pieces. So buying this Ferrari was probably the first new big Technic set that I had bought since the Yellow Crane. so it was like, huh. And the difference in building between the Yellow Crane and this thing, or anything prior to the Yellow Crane, I mean, studless and blah, blah, blah. I would say my enjoyment of building this set was more of I'm building a Ferrari than I'm building a Technic set, because this to me does not scream Technic. This screams model. this more in line to model team, and you know my era is model team was different than Technic. People may disagree and blah blah blah, and that's 100% because I'm not active in the Technic community at all. So what you guys call it, you guys can call it. But it's a pretty little thing, and that's what I appreciate about this thing. It is pretty. The Technic stuff is honestly very, very rudimentary in this set. The build is not, it's very, very complex, and Josh got frustrated because again, he didn't evolve with Technic. Start with the small, he just boom, here, but I don't even know how many pieces are missing, lots of pieces, put it together. like he's had some experience with Technic before, but not to this extent. So it's a complicated build, but when I was finished with it, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to probably piss off or bother, I shouldn't use bad words. I'm going to bother a lot of people, but this set here, I'll move this thing, is more technically complicated than that thing. It honestly is. It is more technically complicated. Not build-wise. Are you kidding? This thing is like 400 pieces. Like, this thing's the easiest thing in the world to build. This is the first one. They both have, I think this has an 8-cylinder engine in it. This has a 4-cylinder engine in it. This thing has 2 speeds. It has a gear train in it. No gear train. None in that set. None in the Ferrari. It has adjustable seats. None in the Ferrari. It has a steering wheel that has, again, just like that one, it has 2 universal joints in it, but this one actually goes 3-dimensional. It's not a 2D plane. Like, I'm building this thing, I'm building the Ferrari, and I'm going, I can't wait to see it finish, to see how complicated they make the technical aspect of the car. And I was completely disappointed by it. Like, I like, seriously, it's a pretty thing. Like, I'm not disappointed at all by having it. I'm not disappointed at all by the money I spent on it. I would not have spent full price on this thing. Knowing what I know now, there's no way I would have paid full price for this set. For me, other people's, what they want it a collectible, right? Because it is a beautiful set, and they want to keep the Technic. I have some friends on my Facebooks that I follow that have all the Technic sets, and they love them, and they're gorgeous, and they appreciate them. And I said, this is very, very pretty, but very, very rudimentary. Like, it has 1 gear going to the pistons. Seriously, like, I'm going, you have all this space in here that you could have done more with. Now, again, I'm not up on previous iterations like the Bugattis and all that stuff, because I loved when the Bugatti came out and they built a full-size one and blah blah blah, and I'm passionate for Lego, that I'm happy that they keep on doing these things that push the boundaries of Lego. And this thing does have, 4-wheel suspension, which this guy, let's bring it back, This guy does not have. There's zero suspension on this guy. So maybe we shouldn't talk about this guy being more technically complicated than the Ferrari. But if we go just 2 iterations after the 853, and we go to this car, which is all dusty. I can't believe I still have these things together. I don't have any, but besides the original 7 in this guy, I in the specials, I'm honestly amazed because the 8880 I can build 2 copies because I know I bought another one, but I did get one originally. So this thing has 4-wheel suspension. It really is, and it has 3-speed on. Well, not in the tree. I can't quote the Bob and Doug. It has 3 speeds. It has a 3-speed transmission in it. And the headlights pop up. I honestly can't remember how to pop up the headlights right now. All right, this thing right here. The headlights pop up. More technically complicated than the Ferrari. More technically complicated than a Ferrari. It has 4-wheel suspension. It has a drivetrain. Look at all those gears in there. Look at all those freaking gears in there. It has, again, a 3D universal joint system to get the steering wheel to where it needs to be. Whereas, again, this one's just on the same plane. Wherever that, and again, I don't know if you can see it, but basically you can see that, whoops, there's me breaking it. There's a little angle axle in there. I can harp on this for a little bit. I am honestly just, I'm not disappointed in the set. I'm honestly not disappointed in the set because I didn't buy it for the Technic pieces. This thing popped off when I was grabbing it. That's my bad. Oh, and the door's open. So, okay, so it's beating the other ones. The doors are actually opening on this one. But other than that, I am... Wait, this thing, oh, it popped off. That happens. So, in the end, I have it. In the end, I'm not going to take it apart. I'm not going to put the stickers on. but in the end, my personal opinion, my preference, again, this is me being old school and like, get off my grass. This one, more technically complicated than that one. Not build-wise, again, because this thing, well, it's pretty easy to build. Honestly, you could give, Josh would be able to build this one, I think, if he follows the instructions pretty well. Excuse me, because it's just plates and stuff like that. So he would be able to build this one pretty well compared to this one, because again, he got past the engine and the back part of the frame and basically had to build the rest of it. And I'm not complaining because I love building Lego. I actually like building from instructions too. But I was hoping for something slightly more technically complicated when it was finished, because you're not using this thing as a demonstration for how gear trains work. You're not using this for like a real good demonstration, a visible demonstration as how the universal joints work in 3 dimensions. You're not using that. It's a store model basically. You put it on a shelf and it looks pretty. So, and that's what it's for. And for me to say a Ferrari, like, don't get me wrong, I love the fact that I own a Ferrari, so, which never happened in my life. I don't know. I am so old school. I do appreciate this one on the technical stuff on that side compared to this guy. Now, overall, you look at them, this is a lot nicer. It's a lot more beautiful. It's going to look good on a shelf compared to this guy. That's going to look good on a shelf. There's people going to walk into a room and see that on a mantle or whatever. Oh, you got a Ferrari model. No, it's a Lego Ferrari model, which is a lot different than just a Ferrari model. But I don't know. I guess you'd have to buy the bigger sets to get more technically complicated, to have more movement, more gears. Like this thing has 10 times, I didn't count. This thing has 10 times as many gears as that guy. It's like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to harp on it too much. I did enjoy the build. I really did. I enjoyed looking at it after it was done. And some of the old timers here might remember the point where I actually put the high speed motors in the 8448 and the remote control from the 8475, I think it was. I used the remote control and I built it into the 8448 and I drove that thing around. That's one of my highlights of my Technic. I think I brought it to Brickfest. When I was at Brickfest, my first and only Brickfest 2004, I brought my 8448 that was RC'd basically, and I was driving the 8448 around the show. Probably annoying the crap out of a lot of people. So I should honestly put that thing back together because that was a lot of fun to RC. Now, of course, power functions would do probably better and faster and whatever, but I would imagine you could rebuild this thing pretty easy. Let's do this because you want to see the whole thing. I would imagine you could rebuild this thing. This thing is getting caught on my little black tarp here. You could rebuild this thing pretty easy to be RC'd or power functioned or whatever they have these days. Pretty easy. So it's something I was thinking about when I was building it, to see if I want to actually take the time to do that. That would be interesting to RC this thing. But in the end, I think, it does drive nicely. It really does. I don't know. Maybe because I am so old school and I'm surrounded by a classic space that doesn't really get past 1984 in this room, that the new stuff is not as appealing to me as the old stuff or the old ways of doing things. But in the end, I did love reading the instructions and putting all those thousands of pieces together to build a Ferrari. And in the end, I'm glad I got it. And in the end, it's going to stick around. I'm not going to bother taking it apart. But in the technically way, I was hoping for more. So I think I said it enough. So I'm going to wrap this up. I needed to, it was just on my mind to talk about the pieces. I was honest, when I was building the Ferrari, I was glad to see that they still had some really, really old Technic pieces that are still around. So that was kind of neat that even though this is like a lot of panels here that I've never seen before, they could be in other sets, whatever, and all the moldings and stuff that might have been just for this Ferrari. But the base of it, the foundation of this thing has a lot of basic Technic studless pieces and a really nifty way of building it, because it's something I would never be able to do myself. I was never very proficient with studless construction. This thing is the one part that I didn't like. But it's anyway. I've said enough about this thing. I'm going to wrap this up. I have talked on for 17 whole minutes about this Technic Ferrari. I honestly, I would say that if you can get it at the wholesaler's place where I got this thing, at the warehouse sales, it's a fantastic set to add to your collection. But for me, it wasn't really worth the full price that they were asking for at Costco or wherever else they were asking for it. I'm glad I got it at the price I did, and I'm glad I built it. Josh is happy with it. So in the end, that's all that matters. Look how big this thing is. So that's it. That's all. You guys all stay safe, take care, and I will talk to you soon.